Should juveniles be afforded more protection under the law when they commit a crime? This is Christina Williams with Just Criminal Law.
And David Mann, legal storytelling specialist. Okay, so it seems, aren't juveniles already under a different sort of legal standard?
Well, I mean, you can be prosecuted as a juvenile. That is, your prosecutor can decide not to prosecute you as an adult and keep you in juvenile court, which is a confidential proceeding, and it stays off of your criminal record. And the focus of a juvenile proceeding or juvenile prosecution is to rehabilitate the juvenile, understanding that developmentally a juvenile is just vastly different than an adult. And so there are areas of the law where you can not face the same penalty, not face the same consequences, but that's only at the discretion of the prosecutor. And we recently had the Wyoming Supreme Court case look at a matter where a defendant was convicted of both first-degree murder and being an accessory to first-degree murder, and was sentenced to life without parole, and he was 19 at the time of the conviction, or at the time of the crime was committed. And so he wasn't considered a juvenile. There were other juveniles that were involved in this crime as well, but he was just a little bit older than the rest of them, and consequently, he is in prison for his entire life. And so his appellate attorneys asked our Supreme Court to look at that.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like there was something wasn't quite right there. So how would he have been afforded at 19, which is not under 18, a minor, how would he have been afforded some sort of different accommodation?
Well, we have the 14th Amendment, and the 14th Amendment looks at protecting citizens, and specifically protected classes of citizens. So, for example, like Americans with disabilities, that those protections are afforded to those individuals under the 14th Amendment. Now, age is considered a protected class. That is, you can't discriminate against someone based on their age. Generally, it's, with older people. And so specifically, the way that the law is kind of looking with brain development and with young adults, like between 18 and 20, that are not technically juveniles, is looking at maybe affording them some protections under the law, where in this type of situation where we've got this individual at 18 who is involved in this murder, who's now going to spend his entire life in prison, maybe there should be some concessions under the law that take into consideration the person's development. That is, how mature are they, and is this harsh penalty really fair for someone who's 19, but for a few months earlier would have been eligible to be prosecuted as a juvenile, but because he is 19, now he's facing his entire life in prison. And so it really is a matter of, is that right? Is that just? Is that fair? Or should that person maybe be given some sort of legal test or criteria that maybe would allow them to be outside of those sentencing parameters and, look at maybe them as close to being a juvenile and being able to really be fully rehabilitated.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting to be more and more common knowledge, this thing about the brain is not developed in a kid and a youth until they're about 25. So it does seem to make sense that there would be a different standard for that. But has this been ruled on and decided on, or is it still an open question?
Yes, and so it was brought before the Supreme Court as under Article 1, Section 8 of our Constitution, which is very close in language to the federal Constitution. The Wyoming and the federal Constitution are very close in the wording in that article. And it was looking at cruel and unusual punishment. And the attorneys were arguing that because of his age, that sentence was just overly harsh. It was so harsh that it was considered cruel and unusual. And the Wyoming Supreme Court very generously said, well, we're not going to say that we've definitely decided that, this possibility of this argument couldn't be brought forth, but what we would like you to do is bring it through both just looking at the Wyoming Constitution, because we typically afford more protection to our citizens than the federal Constitution, but also let's bring in the 14th Amendment. And we might consider your argument here and reconsider allowing this sentence to be commuted or to be reduced.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot that still needs to be worked out on this, but it's headed in the right direction. I'm thinking right now of the people watching this, if they themselves, or possibly a parent of a youth of this age, might need some extra clarity on going to court because of a crime they've been committed of, they might need to get a hold of you for that. So how would they do that? Sure.
We'll include a link in the description where they can call, text, or chat with a member of my team anytime, day or night. Here at Just Criminal Law, we know you only get one shot at justice, so make yours count.